to me has been a very important game. I've been playing it for over like 17, 18 years. Sims has opened up a whole idea of like me enjoying gaming. Sims has always been very special for me. It holds a very special place in my heart. That's why I wanted to use The Sims today to create my childhood apartment. And this will also be a good way to show you what Polish apartments are like for people that aren't well off. No, I guess like middle class people in the 2000s living in Poland. I'm gonna show you where I lived in Poland so you kind of understand what house I'm trying to recreate. We don't actually own that house anymore. We have sold it. And it's not even a house, it's an apartment. And we lived exactly on this street right here. Let me get the little man and show you what it actually looks like. Ta-da! The most horrible looking building, to be honest with you. Like, who decided to paint this house yellow? I don't know. So I moved away about 16, 17 years ago. This is the apartment that I lived in, this apartment block. Most of them actually looked like this kind of neutral colored. And as soon as I moved out, for some reason, they decided to paint this whole block yellow. And I just find that very strange. I don't know who decided this, but they are absolutely crazy. But now you can literally spot this from space. This is it. This is where I lived. It's impossible to create a whole apartment block in The Sims, but I'm gonna create the actual structure of the apartment. It's very small, so this won't even take that long. But I found this to be very special because The Sims is a game that's extremely special to me. So to be able to create my old house in The Sims, this is gonna be like really exciting for me. I might redo this again in a different video if I don't feel like this is still right. Wait, let me show you the front of it. This is where I used to hang out as a child. Okay, so this is the front of it. I can't go any further down, but if you look at this building, this tree used to be so much smaller when I lived there. I lived in these two little windows. So you see this window here used to be our sitting room slash the bedroom and also the dining room. And then this was a tiny little kitchen. I've picked Windenburg for this challenge. Well, challenge. I don't know whether that makes really any sense, but Windenburg I think is meant to be more of like a European town. So I guess I went with that. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm actually not going to worry about the outside for the moment. I'm going to just do the inside proportionally with how I actually remember it. And you're going to literally cry when you see this. When you first walked in, I'm going to actually start straight away with a door because we had a door and I think that this was the size of the hallway, but I want to say that the door was pushed. Thank God we can do this. This actually makes me so happy that we can slide the door on its axis, I suppose. If I couldn't do this, then this wouldn't really make sense. I think the door was a little bit to this side because straight over here then we had like a little like get ready area with where our shoes were kept, and then straight over to this side we actually had a bathroom. I'm just gonna fill it all in. Items are gonna play a massive role here in figuring out the size. So we had a bath. I didn't know that showers, just like a walk-in shower, were a thing before I moved countries. Every single Polish person in Poland has a bath. So we'd have like a little shower head connected to the bath. Showers really weren't a common thing. And this is what you're going to absolutely hate. Sinks in bathrooms were also a no-no. We never had a sink in our bathroom, and you're gonna see this now and you're gonna look at me and be like, you've never washed your hands. Yes, we did. We washed them in the bath, so we used the bath sink as a sink. Well, I mean, now there definitely is, but back then we never had one. What we did though have instead is a washing machine. This video is not gonna make much sense and you're probably gonna be like, you're crazy. But look, this is just how I grew up. This is the way that things were for me. I'm trying to think back now. I haven't been there for so many years and I tremendously miss it, to be honest with you. It felt a lot smaller than this, but the toilet was definitely kind of like at an angle like this, but I don't really think that's gonna make much sense. This is kind of how it was. I don't know how they managed to get the toilet to be at an angle, but I swear to God, I remember it being at an angle. My biggest dream is one day to be able to be rich enough in this world that I can go back and I can buy this apartment and like redo it and just have it. Like, I miss this apartment so much, even though obviously it was the best for us to just sell it and, you know, buy a house here because our life is so much better here. You're actually all going to look at me and be like, what is this girl on about? But yeah, I just remembered we brushed our teeth in the bath and we actually had a mirror here. But I think that this is roughly what it looked like. There definitely was something in this corner that I can't really exactly remember what it was. Okay, I'm gonna move on straight away into actually cutting this hallway off, and I think this was an archway. kind of like that. Now, this is where it gets nasty. We had a wall going like this. The objects are really going to help me determine the size of this room, but hear me out. This was our whole house. One sec. Let me just fill it in. Yeah. That seems about right. This was the size of our actual house, okay? This was the kitchen, and this was my parents' room, as well as the dining room and also the sitting room. This is the way it actually was when we first moved in here, when I was like a baby, like a small baby. This was just one room, so it's kind of like a studio apartment. But what my parents actually did, they actually put in a wall like this, which was a very common thing to do in Polish apartments. I don't remember how they did it, but it was like a very, very thin wall. But they just used to put in walls just to kind of divide the room a little bit. So we had, I guess it wasn't really a door. It's kind of like those foldy harmonica doors. We don't really have them here in Ireland, so I don't even know how to explain it to you. But it wasn't a full door. It kind of felt like it was just an archway. That's my bedroom, and this is the rest of the house. I'm going to just put in a door, and then I'm going to plonk in some items to really kind of see whether this makes any sense. I'm just trying to see what the windows were like to make them as close as possible. So there were these tiny, like, look how small the windows are. Tiny, like, double panel windows. The lucky people upstairs had balconies, but we lived on the bottom floor, so we obviously had no balconies. Is there any kind of windows that look like that? The game doesn't really have many just double pane windows. It's kind of like that, but like longer and bigger. That is actually so annoying how I can't get the right window. Okay guys, so I just put in a couple of items to kind of show you the scale. The more I actually look at this, the more it brings me back to like loads of memories, which is nice in a way, but it just, why does it make me so sad? Like, look how small this was. Okay, so let me explain. The couch that you see back there used to open up to make a fold out bed that my parents slept on. There was 2 chairs, and I do vaguely remember it was like red. I believe they were red chairs with like floral designs on them. Then we had a little coffee table here, which actually was our dining table as well. So that's kind of where we ate our food. So someone would sit back there, and then my dad, I think, usually sat there, and then my mom sat there, and I think I actually sat back there when we had our food. These cabinets here, these look pretty similar to what we had, but if you can imagine, that glass was kind of up as well, so there was more glass. I had a PlayStation 1, and it was just transformative to who I was as a person. I loved games so much, and I had a friend that lived next door, and we just played games all the time together. We played Crash Bandicoot, we played Spyro. That was like the most fond memory that I have. The controllers were always out, and both me and my dad actually loved playing games, so that was like a major part of this. And what I can remember was the games. They were very, very important to us, and it meant a lot for us to be able to play them. I would sit right in this chair and I would play games all the time, and I just remember my mom bringing me like my chicken, and I would just have to pause my Spyro game to eat the chicken, you know. I don't really remember much detail of the kitchen, to be honest with you, but as far as I can remember, the countertops were so thin. We also then had a small fridge. I think it was a lot smaller than this. We did have shelves. That's something I can remember. So we had a couple of cabinets, I think. Oh god, this is like painful that I can't remember everything. Something like this, and I remember there used to be like cups hanging from them, like these blue cups with faces on them. Kitchen, for some reason, is the thing I can least remember. I don't know why. I guess maybe I just didn't care too much to be in the kitchen, like when my mom was cooking or something. I don't really have too many fond memories of the kitchen. I remember my cat. I had a cat in this apartment, my first ever cat. Best cat I've ever had, and he used to always jump up here. Well, I guess we had windowsills as well, which this game doesn't have, but we had like these massive windowsills. I think that's kind of all I'm really gonna do in the kitchen. I'm gonna try maybe redo this video maybe in a couple of months if I find some maybe pictures of what the kitchen actually looked like. Another very fun fact about a lot of Polish homes is that we don't really have curtains. We never really had like major curtains. Now we still would, but we would have these tiny little, what are they called? So those curtains were like little netted, kind of embroidered curtains that everyone always had like up. We don't have them in The Sims, which I wish we did. They're definitely more of like a Eastern European kind of thing, not necessarily like an American thing, I want to say. I don't know, but we definitely had like little embroidery curtains here, and then we would have regular curtains to close as well. Obviously when it gets dark, but we always had like a netting in the window. Okay, so I've kind of created a version of my room. room, I had to really size down a couple of these things, and the PC is also floating, but don't mind that. It actually was floating in real life. It used to be put on like a little shelf. Imagine a child living in a 3x3 block like this with everything squished in like that. So I have my bed squished against the wall because I actually didn't have like a proper bed. I just had like this weird mattress that you pull out. They were very common in Poland. We never really had like proper beds. No one really did. The blue actually resembles the color that it was because it was like space themed. It was like a dark navy color, and then there was like little yellow stars and like scary moon faces on it and stuff like that. That's all I remember from my bed. We also then had a wardrobe, which was practically the only amount of storage that we had in this house. So we obviously had these like cabinets in the sitting room, which also had our clothes in it too, but this was kind of where we kept everyone's clothes. I had a little toy box and things like that, but the most important thing of all of this, and this is how I actually got into The Sims, was this. So one day my dad comes home with a CD, like a blank like looking kind of CD. It just says The Sims on it in like a sleeve pocket thingy. He says to me, I bought you a game, and I was like, oh my god, unreal. I never really played PC games at the time. Like I was only like 6 or 7 at the time, so I mean obviously I wasn't like a PC gamer back then, but I just remember my dad bringing home this game, and ever since then I was introduced to the world of Sims, and both myself and my mom and my dad, the three of us would play Sims constantly, okay? Like I would even go to bed early, like my mom would be like, go to bed, and then I'd sleep here, and then my mom would be playing Sims. But that's how I got into The Sims. I played The Sims 2 here as well, and then obviously we moved, and that's how I continue playing Sims up until this day where I'm making my house in The Sims. So it's like a full circle. It's actually crazy to think about, but I just remember the first time ever like experiencing Sims on a computer in this room. It was just unbelievable. That's something I'm never gonna forget. Like I've forgotten quite a couple of details, as you can see by me making this video. There's quite a lot of gaps in here. I don't remember a lot of things because it's been so long. That moment of me figuring out that I like games and that Sims is just such a big part of my world, that's something I'm never going to forget. That's why Sims is so meaningful to me, and be able to create my house in The Sims, it's literally like coming to a full circle of me realizing what's actually really important in my life. And obviously making videos. I don't want to get too like sob story about this, but it is very emotional for me to be able to still play a game of my childhood and have at least one part of my childhood that I'll never forget. I'm trying to think what kind of floor and stuff we had, but I really, for the life of me, cannot remember. I think we had some sort of like lino flooring. I do not remember at all what the flooring looked like. I think maybe there was lino in this room. I think maybe just this regular carpet in these two rooms. But I really don't remember what color walls or anything that there actually was. I think they were pretty neutral. We owned this apartment, but we didn't really paint it as such because we knew, I guess, that in the end we were going to be moving countries. So we didn't spend too much money on this apartment, but I really don't remember much about it, which makes me really sad actually. Okay guys, so I've taken some time. I didn't actually expect to be here, but I have actually made the whole entire block, as you do. The house is still in there. I just needed to see the actual block done, and honestly I've spent quite a bit of time making this, and I've been obviously going off of the Google Maps image to make it as exact as possible. It still looks a bit odd. Couldn't find the right shade of yellow actually, but I just said, you know, I'd go and get a bit creative, and I've actually managed to make something that looks and resembles the apartment block that I lived in. The townies are making this very extremely weird for me. Like a little bit of green area here, but honestly those green areas were never really looked after really well. There's also basements in these apartments, so a lot of apartments like this that you would see in Poland, you would have a basement. Every single apartment would have its designated basement below it. I kind of raised it up from the ground to make it look like there will be a basement there. Then this is the side that I would consider the front of the building. So this is what all the other buildings would kind of see, and then you'd have like your common green in the middle, so that's where all the kids would play. These windows right here would be the ones that we would have owned. The fun thing to notice about these apartment blocks actually is that a lot of them would have balconies. If you live in an apartment block, you don't have much like garden area, so a lot of these people would have quite a lot of plants and green and like flowers on their balcony. So every single balcony I filled it with loads of plants and green. A lot of it is just to do with image. It's to make the apartments look nice and make your house look nice from the outside. If you don't have nice plants in your balcony, me, people will talk about you like, oh look, she doesn't have nice plants, she must be a horrible person. Polish people are quite obsessed with the idea of having a good self-image so that people won't talk badly about them. You have a massive yellow block of cheese pretty much. This tree is very, very important to me. This tree, it felt like this tree grew with me. So the more I grew, the more this tree grew. So I needed to put it into this thing. I needed to put it in here. Honestly, the more I look at it, especially if I squint my eyes and I look at like just right here, I can really see my house. And I don't know, it's a very weird feeling making your house that I'll never be able to go in there unless I buy it back. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so I can get really famous and I can buy back my childhood home. So let's actually do a tour. We've gotten so far. Let's go into the apartment block. Ta-da! Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. This is the front hallway. That's where we would leave our shoes. And I remember my mom always doing her makeup like right here. My mom had like all of her stuff, like her makeup and her perfume. Like I can't even imagine how little space she had to get ready. Like my mom was like my age when, you know, she was living in this apartment. It's crazy to me that that's what she had back then. And you know, the house that I have now in Ireland to compare at the same age as her, it just doesn't make sense to me. So then we've got your living room. Oh my god. I remember vaguely there was something on the walls. I don't know. Polish people like their shelves, so maybe there was a shelf here. I can't remember. I always did my arts and crafts in the middle of this floor. There was probably like crap everywhere, like embedded into the carpet. I also very strongly remember my mom had these like overhanging plants and they would like hang from the cabinets here. So that like really brings me back. Like just that small little piece of memory here, it just does really bring me back. The most important room of the house, obviously the happening spot, was my bedroom. Welcome everyone. I always had my drawings up. Obviously my arts and crafts, I'm an artist, so it was very important to me. That's where I started my art journey, I guess. And my parents really allowed that. They allowed me to be as creative and as expressive with my art as possible. So I had all of my stuffed animals and all my toys displayed really nicely on a shelf. I do particularly remember I kept moving them around to make them look as cool and as nice as possible, because I guess this is all of the space that I had as a child. I put this little sticker on the wall because if you can imagine that exact design on this dark navy sheet, that's what my bed looked like. As dreary and sad and depressing this room looks, that was my childhood, and I am so happy that I got to recreate this and experience it again. But it does make me really sad how little I remember. The fact that I could recreate this in The Sims and kind of keep this, you know, as a video, it's almost like a time capsule. I've recorded this now, all my thoughts. At least I can remember all these details with this video. So this video is very special for me. You know, as dreary and horrible and hilarious this apartment looks, this means so much to be able to recreate this and save this for myself and have it as a little memory. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this video and just coming on this journey with me. I've really enjoyed making this video and I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did. You know, just to get more of an insight of where I used to live and what Polish apartments look like. I do want to make more Polish styled homes and apartments in the future, so definitely let me know what you think about that in the comments. Anyways, if you have enjoyed this, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a little like. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, I shall see you in the next one. Bye!